Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines. My name is Paco, and we get together every morning at, oh, that's loud, isn't it? Let me turn it down a little bit. I'm sorry we're having audio issues this morning because I just upgraded the software that I use to make these broadcasts, and I got some unexpected messages as we got started. Anyhow, here we are, 10:30, live from Facebook, just as any other day, bringing you headlines and stories from all over the place as they relate to our lives here in Puerto Vallarta. It's always great to see familiar faces, and it's always great to see new faces. So if you're new to these broadcasts, please let us know that you are new by writing the word new in your comments. Let us know where you are. Let us know how you found out about Coffee and Headlines. And and that's me clearing my throat. And you're going to find out why today, because I've been a little sick and I needed to know what was making me sick. And I took the COVID-19 test, and I'll let you know how that went and how the whole procedure flows so that you can become better informed about this. So I hope I'm going to cue the headline. The headlines. I'm sorry, you're going to hear a lot of that. It's pharyngitis. I don't have COVID-19, but I still want to talk about it because the procedure made me think about how important it is that we know about this. In fact, let me just jump into that because the only other headline that I have can wait. Is everybody here? Let's just do this. I've been sick. I've had a congestion in my lungs for some time. Nothing serious. In fact, I've thought it was because I've been doing a lot of broadcasting and using my voice quite a bit and laughing a lot and so forth and so on. And I haven't had a fever, so I haven't paid much attention to it. But yesterday I figured, okay, Paco, just deal with this. Because even though I haven't had a fever, I decided, well, this is something that I want to look into. So I was recommended a doctor, and it was great because I called her, I explained the symptoms, and she said to me, I'll come and visit you at your own home. And I figured, well, that is convenient. Obviously, she might have thought, and I kind of thought maybe I have COVID-19. Maybe I do have it. And she says to me, well, we don't want you going places until we figure out what's wrong. And I figured, okay, I'm going to keep my cool. I've been mindful of the disease. We've been mindful in this space. And I figured, sooner or later, we're going to get it because it's like the flu. It's around. So anyhow, Dr. Anna, and I'll give you all the information about her because she's now my favorite doctor. She's going to be I'm going to adopt her for many reasons, and I'll tell you why in a bit. Dr. Anna responded my WhatsApp messages really quickly. I gave her my location. I went down and opened the door, and she shows up with one of these amazing cases that are made for people to carry makeup. Any local drag queen would just die of envy looking at this case. It was tall. It went up to about as high as my knee, or maybe even taller. And I said to her, "Whoa, that's an awesome case. I mean, what is that?" And she told me, "Well, it's a makeup case, but it really works very nicely to be able to carry all my medical chingaderas." So she came up to my apartment, and I opened that, and there it was. There was the test. She showed it to me. She explained it to me. That's what a rapid test looks like. It has two little slits. I cannot point at them because you cannot see my cursor in the way I'm showing in this photograph. But essentially, the rapid test measures two things. It measures, number one, if you've had COVID-19 and you didn't know it. And number two, if COVID-19 is active in your bloodstream at that moment. And then, of course, she pulled out a little pincher thing, and she says it's just going to be a prick. And I said, well, yeah, that's what they say. And she pricked me, and she drew some blood, and the test came out negative in both instances. Then she put my finger in one of those things that feel funny, like when you put your finger in, well, not that I know anything about putting fingers places. Anyhow, my respiration, my oxygenation, whatever it's called, it was fine. And she prescribed me three things. She prescribed me an antibiotic just to make sure that things are okay. She prescribed me vitamin C, and she prescribed me an anti-inflammatory, ibuprofen. And that was that. She was gone in 20 minutes, and I was very grateful for the clarity, for the knowledge. I told her about what we do here every morning, and I told her if any of the people that reach out and share space with me in Coffee and Headlines are interested in this procedure, is this possible? And she said yes, so I'm going to give you her contact information. Of course, this being a medical visit, she had to report this to the authorities, and that's what doctors are expected to do. So I am now part of the statistic, I suppose. And, I'm going to stay careful with my voice. I want to make sure that I'm ready for Sunday Funday, because I already have some things lined up, and I hope we're going to laugh a little bit together. Let me take a quick look at your remarks. I hope you feel better. Thank you very much, Daniela. It's just a little congestion. It's not like have been compromised in any other way, shape, or form. Thank God, it's nothing serious, and I think it's going to go away. I'm drinking lots of liquids. I'm drinking lots of tea with ginger, and so forth and so on. Why don't I get a mega dose of C vitamin plus glutathione? It's very simple, David, because I like the fact that you're here, but I don't trust you because I don't know you, and it's not a bad thing not to trust you. I appreciate the remark, but I have a doctor, and I trust what the doctor says, and I think, while I respect your suggestion and I appreciate it very much, I do think that when it comes to medical things, the best advice comes from doctors. So please don't hold that against me, but I appreciate the good thought. Let's see. New from Las Vegas, DM Van Pelt. What an awesome name, DM Van Pelt. I hope you're having a safe time in Vegas, and I hope you're able to return whenever you can or whenever it feels right for you. How long did it take to get the result? Less than 5 minutes. Again, she was in and out of my house in 20 minutes, and it was that simple. It was great. Cynthia, un saludote. How good to see you. I haven't heard from you in a long time. Glad you're enjoying this information. Again, this is not about me. It's about all of us, and I'm telling you why in just a second. Health is wealth always. What a nice thought. The reason why I'm telling you this is because I have to share some thoughts with you. Well, I don't have to, but I'm going to. Hopefully this will be useful information. It takes being a gay man of a certain age, and I am a gay man of a certain age, to remember what it was like to go out and have casual sex or anonymous sex, which I did, and I did a lot of it in my 20s and my 30s. I was as horny as anybody else. But then, this was the heyday of the AIDS epidemic in the States. So if you would go out and have sex, and then you felt an itch, no matter how insignificant, or you started sneezing, it's like, a lot of us felt like, oh shit, I'm going to die. So I come from that time in our history, in which any itch just triggered a response in myself and other gay men that I knew. And that's the kind of fear we had to live with. Of course, back then, I remember living in Boston. There was this place across the street from Berklee College of Music called Fenway Community Health Center. And I used to get my HIV tests there. And it would take weeks to get an HIV test. Weeks. And you had to have an appointment with a counselor before taking the test, then you had to schedule the test, and then you had to get another appointment with another counselor to get the results. It was a complicated, time-consuming, emotionally draining process that now takes, in case of the HIV test, it takes 10 minutes, just as the test that I took this morning. And then I say this because not that gay people, especially men, not that we're better at dealing with fear and uncertainty, but when it comes to going out on the street nowadays, and choosing to face the new normality, the new normal, with a certain level of fear, we've have some experience with this situation that might be useful to people that didn't live in the AIDS epidemic so closely. And then there's this other nugget of information that comes from my own life experience that I never thought would be useful to me or to others again at this stage of my life. When I was in college, I kind of self-exiled because my parents were not very happy about me being gay. Long story. And I used to save money while being in college to be able to fly my mother up to visit me, because my mom, she was always my dear, dear, dear friend. And she came to Boston many times, and we had wonderful times. And in fact, I think I got to, and my brothers and sister, if they're watching, they might, send shit to me later on. I don't care. I think I got to know and love my mother more during those 2 or 3 week periods a year that we would spend together than the rest of my family got to know her for the rest of the year. And that was a privilege, and that was a gift. But the reason I say this is because at the time, I came to learn later that my father and the rest of my brothers and my sister were afraid of my mother visiting me because they thought she was going to get AIDS. And I felt a lot of anger about that for many years, and it took some years and a considerable number of shrink hours to get rid of that feeling and understand what I know now, which is, they didn't know better. They didn't know the disease. They didn't know the symptoms. They were ignorant, which is not a sin. They simply did not know the facts to understand why it was kind of preposterous that the simple fact that my mom would come and visit would be enough for her to get AIDS. And why am I telling you all this? Because we are going to meet someone who has COVID-19. Sooner or later, it's going to happen. In fact, it may take days, or it may have already happened. And today, in 2020, it is sad that there is still a lot of stigma about meeting people that are HIV positive or have AIDS. There are still, in our society, in our country, in our states, definitely, people that go, ooh, no, I don't want to, he has AIDS. So AIDS is one thing, HIV is another, and now here we have COVID-19. And I am telling you this not for you to tell me back, not to tell me your opinion, but I'm inviting you to think about this in your own time with your own peers, in whatever space you feel comfortable. What are we going to do when we meet someone that either has COVID-19 or is in quarantine and needs help or has recovered? Or how do we behave when we're out and about and all of a sudden somebody goes, "Hatcher!" in front of our faces? It's tough situations, but it's part of the reality, and it has to do with how afraid we are and how kind or unkind or selfish or selfless or caring or careless we are. There are no rights or wrongs. I just want to put this information out there so that when you find yourselves in a situation in which you have to make decisions about going out or about talking to people or being kind to people that need kindness, you just give yourself some time to figure out what kind of person you want to be. This was scary. This was definitely scary. Getting a prescription, getting the test, I don't want to minimize the scariness of it. But while we're looking at COVID-19 taking center stage in our medical lives, there are still other diseases. I mean, we know people that have had dengue. And how did you act when you talked to them and they said, we had dengue? We need to figure out what is the place that we want to be in. And I'm going to stop now because I don't want this to be the Paco preaching moment. I never intended for Coffee and Headlines to become this, but I do feel it's an important responsibility for all of us to be around people and show our best to people and make sure that if there are people out there that we love to criticize, we love to shame people, look at it the other way. We've all been places in times in which we deserved to be shamed. And let us just hope for a little bit of an open eye to just how we treat one another. And I'm rambling, and I am still not ready to ramble because I do have one piece of important news, and it's not even worth throwing the headlines thing. Oh, yes, it is. What the heck? Let's go there. Boom. So, as we know, the governor of our state, well, as we know, we've been talking about safety in public transportation. All of a sudden, this has come to the ears and news to our governor, Enrique Alfaro. And Enrique Alfaro has now mentioned that starting on Monday, the use of face masks is absolutely obligatory on buses. You cannot board a bus without wearing a face mask. And you cannot, the drivers cannot be driving the bus wearing a face mask. Furthermore, he is following up on a commitment that he made earlier on, which is to work with the private sector to make sure that the private sector introduces staggered schedules so that there is never really a rush hour on the buses. So this is, again, useful to know for those of you that take public transportation on a regular basis. Please know that the government is mindful of the fact that it hasn't been ideal, but it is now going to be policed more closely, which I think is a good thing. Before we move on to a couple of leisurely things, I want to share a video that I had the pleasure of producing yesterday. What a day. Yesterday was quite a day. Needless to say, I never make it to Siam Cuisine to pick up my pad thai. Michael, I am really sorry, but between taking care of Coffee and Headlines in the morning, taking care of my health in the afternoon, and then producing a video that I had committed to do, it was a long, colorful, but very introspective day. It was a good day for me. Anyhow, my friends Luis and Paul are continuing with their fundraising campaign to help families in need here in Puerto Vallarta, and they have been extremely successful. They've distributed over 5,000 despensas or food baskets. They've raised over $25,000 or $26,000, but unfortunately, it's not enough. Take a look at this video I put together for them to continue moving forward this campaign. I know that you've heard of this. I would not expect for you to keep reaching into your pockets, but if you'll indulge me, I do want this 2.5 minute video to be part of this broadcast because it gets watched by a lot of people and hopefully other people will react to it. Please take a look.
We started with such a small goal in mind, to just help a few.
Lo que nos motivó a mí y a varios amigos, Paul, Valeria, Daniel y otros amigos que se han sumado a esto, fue pues no quedarnos en casa. ¿Por qué? Porque la necesidad afuera es muy grande, ¿sí?
Been here in Puerto Vallarta for 18 years, and I've seen a side of Puerto Vallarta that most tourists who come here simply don't see. outside of the tourist zone, you know, in the marginal communities around the edges. And this is where the workers live. There are streets that aren't paved, that don't have utilities, and you know, families that just are living hand to mouth. You know, some of these people, they don't even have 10 pesos to take the bus to come into town and find food or even find work, if there were any.
La necesidad en Puerto Vallarta es muy grande. Más del 50% de la población en Puerto Vallarta depende directamente del turismo y no va a poder encontrar un trabajo porque los hoteles no están trabajando al 100%.
These people are not going back to work. The business owners, the small business owners, they're on their knees too, economically, and they're not going to hire these people back because they can't.
Y eso es lo que más nos motiva a poder seguir trabajando, llevando esas despensas casa por casa a las personas más necesitadas.
I have been incredibly humbled, and just, I mean, I have no words for what happened. I mean, in a month, we raised $28,000, and that has contributed to help supply 5,000 food baskets to people who otherwise would not have had food. Unfortunately, what we've done is not enough.
And there you have it. That was the campaign that we put together for Paul and Luis's effort to raise money for local families. I will be sharing that link in the comments. Again, let me take a quick look at your questions and comments to see if anything is relevant here. Boom, beam, 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 beam. I answered that already. La 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 la. Oh my God, Sunday Fun Day is going to be so much fun, by the way. I'm going to teach you an awesome phrase that you are going to love. And it's a phrase that is very, very relevant. Does the black icon in the left upper corner show the number of your audience? I'm not sure that I don't see a black corner in my transmission, in my broadcast. You may be seeing it if you're seeing it on Facebook. I can tell you that I see 117 of you online right now, and I am being eternally grateful for the fact that you're here sharing this morning with me. Claude chimes in. We must be of similar ages. I will share the contact information so that you can get this directly from Dr. Ana Calderón. She is the one that took care of this for me. Let's see. Oh, this is wonderful to know. Fenway Community Health Center was such an important organization when I was growing up in Boston during my college years, and it was an awesome community center that was a cornerstone for the gay community. It really, really was. I appreciate your remarks to what I shared. Again, it's not about me. It's about what we're living together. And please, don't. It's not about me. It's about how are we treating one another during this pandemic. Which reminds me, I saw this earlier on Facebook, and I forgot that I wanted to comment on this because this came from a person that is regularly watching us, and it is unfortunate indeed that certain aspects of Facebook have become challenging for some. And to me, Facebook is like television. There are some channels that are educational and inspiring, like Nat Geo or the Discovery Channel. There are some channels that are really funny, like the Comedy Central. There are channels that are very commercial and boring, like the Shop at Home Network or whatever it's called. There are channels that have great political commentary. I mean, if Facebook is getting to you, just pick the channels that you need right now. And if there are people that are not giving you what you need right now, simply unfollow them. Don't plug them off of your circle. But if you need to not hear from someone because their views are not what you need in your life right now, turn them off, and then later on go and figure out what you need to turn on again. And that's just my wish for you all. Boom, 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 boom. Wipe down the bar in front of you on buses. Well, again, I always travel everywhere with my little cleaning gel and my bug repellent and stuff, and my fan, of course, my Hotel Mercurio fan, because it's that time of the year. Would I share the link, please? I always share all the links. Oh, that's because you're new, DM Van Pelt. I love that, DM Van Pelt. We always share all the links. For all those of you that are joining us for the first time, after the broadcast is over, I compile all the links of everything that we talked about on what we call the show notes, and I append those to the Facebook video, and then I add them to the website, paco-ojeda.com, and that's where the show notes are, and that's where you can find all the links to everything that we talk about in case you want to pursue them on your own. Paul, who is watching, shout out to my dear friend Paul. There is the link for his own food campaign. So if that is what you were looking for, DM Van Pelt. I don't mean to make fun of your name, but it just feels so good on my mouth. And that sounded awful. I feel like the lady and the kicking the tennis balls. Never mind. Let's see. What is that little I with a set 117? Well, that's the number of you that are here, and it's come down to 108 because I'm rambling. Let's see. No more. Well, there are many, many great comments from you, and I always appreciate it. And I always try to pull them up and share them with everybody. But I'm sure you're reading them as well. I have 2 more headlines plus the weather. Let's go there. Well, it is still warm and it is still humid. It's not as humid as yesterday. It's only 64%. It feels like 88 degrees outside, even though it's 83. And that would be 28 Celsius. And it's going to be this way for the rest of the summer. You know how it goes. There are no clouds in the sky today. So if you're out and about, just be careful. Make sure you wear some sunblock and just be mindful of the fact that it's probably not the best of days to be out in the sun more than necessary. Going back to the leisurely headlines, I just have a couple of things to share with you today. And the first one would be the 7 things to do this weekend, which we always share on every Friday. This comes to us from the New York Times. There's always great suggestions. Unfortunately, the other leisurely news that I have also comes from New York City, and it's not a good bit of news. Carnegie Hall and Lincoln Center have canceled all their fall performances, effectively shutting down the major classical music institutions for the rest of the year. This is very, very sad, and unfortunately, it's part of the new normal. We keep talking about how theater is having a difficult time. We keep talking about how the performances that we are used to enjoying live are having a difficult time. And unfortunately, we're going to have to continue waiting and seeing what will happen with these very important forms of expression and entertainment in our worlds. Meanwhile, we can all look forward to more streaming offerings during the summer months, and hopefully the people that make those possible, whether it is local artists or artists around the world, will continue to push the envelope and push their own creativity to the limits as they try to keep us engaged while we're spending time on social media or online. Let me take a quick look, and boom, bim, 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 bam, bam. I see more dialogue between you, which always makes me very happy because one way or another, we're all being part of the community. In a way, I feel envious because while I'm here talking to you, you have the choice of being able to chit chat among one another. All I'm seeing is your comments come up linearly, so I never know exactly when you're replying to me or you're replying to somebody else. But at the end of the broadcast, as always, I try to go back and like all the comments or comment on all your comments because they're all important to me. They nurture the content of these broadcasts, and they help me put something together that gives you connections with the destination, which is ultimately what we're trying to do here at Coffee and Headlines, and also at the website. So I'm going to take care of my chest. I'm going to take care of my throat. I was going to say my chote, but that would be a new word. And I am going to play it by ear. I do want to continue doing my walking tours because part of my own mental, physical, and emotional sanity comes from giving myself permission to leave the house responsibly. And I will do that during the next few days, without a doubt. But again, I invite you to think about what I shared. Again, I'm not being a pessimist, but we don't have a vaccine for this virus. It's going to start decreasing in numbers, hopefully. But sooner or later, we're going to get close to it, whether because we chose to, or because it caught us off guard, or because a close friend may be in need, or maybe, I mean, I know people that have had it and have recovered. So it will be helpful to all of us to maybe think ahead how we're going to react when this happens. But enough thinking, and it's the weekend, it's Friday. Go and have a wonderful weekend. Please stay happy. Please stay healthy. Please stay sane. Please stay creative. Learn something. Eat some tacos and stay in touch. Have a great day.